Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. We are still covering the California fires, and one of the things that we all have to be concerned with, and we hear it all the time, and us perhaps in the Northeast and other parts of the country don't understand this as well as the people that are from California. And that's the Santa Ana winds. And that is what is the biggest enemy right now of firefighters. Firefighters that have to fight these winds and watch as the fire is flamed by the power of these winds, spread by the power of these winds. And just an awesome power that these winds contain and the power they have over fire, both spreading the flames and the embers that wind up on other houses. We've seen such bravery, such hard work by the firefighters, the police, the emergency service workers. Just unbelievable. Residents of the Los Angeles area faced a third consecutive day of strong wind warnings, remained at risk for new fires on Wednesday, more than a week after devastating blazes began tearing through Southern California. The most dangerous fire conditions that forecasters warned of, including gusts of at least 30 miles an hour, had not yet materialized by mid-morning. On Tuesday, weaker than predicted winds allowed firefighters to make progress against the largest blazes and tame or extinguish new, smaller ones. No more homes or major structures were burning in either of the two largest blazes, the Palisades and the Eaton fires, though officials said embers could still linger unseen under debris and underground. Those blazes, which have burned in an area larger than San Francisco, could take weeks to extinguish. The crisis created by the fires, which have killed at least 25 people and displaced more than 100,000, is far from over. More than 82,000 people in Los Angeles County are under evacuation orders, with another 90,400 under evacuation warnings, according to the county sheriff, Robert Luna, who spoke at a news briefing on Wednesday morning. Wind gusts and dangerously low humidity on Wednesday could cause new or existing fires to grow rapidly, according to the National Weather Service. A health advisory for wind-blown ash and dust, which can be too large to register on air quality monitoring devices, was in effect until the evening. Here's what the New York Times says they're covering. Containment updates. The Palisades fire, the largest in the area, was nearly 24,000 acres and 19% contained on Wednesday morning, according to California Fire. The Eaton fire covered more than 14,000 acres and was 45% contained, up from 35%. The Auto fire, which grew to more than 60 acres in Ventura County, northwest of Los Angeles, was 47% contained. The forecast, the weather system moving in on Thursday, is likely to make it easier for firefighters to gain control of the blazes, though forecasters have warned of another possible wind event early next week. Housing woes. Among the longer-term fears is that the destruction of thousands of homes has made the city's dire housing shortage worse. On Tuesday, Governor Gavin Newsom of California and members of the Los Angeles City Council took preliminary steps to prevent property speculation, evictions, and large rent increases. For the safety advice, here are some steps you can take to stay in at-risk areas, including signing up for emergency alerts and packing a go bag. I would think that many people in the Los Angeles area, being experienced with these type of things, know what to do without being told. However, some people chose to wait out these fires and actually had to run out and flee with their lives. So that is what we're tracking. That is what we're watching. The human tragedy here goes without saying. It's unbelievable. How are we going to help these people? How are we going to make them whole? How are we going to bring this community back? So, folks, hold on to your hats, hold on to your integrity, hold on to your next door neighbor, your friends, your family, because you're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off the cuff zone, the police off the cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
And now a word from our sponsor. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball to NHL and UFC, BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, folks, we cover here the breaking news that's happening right now. And it's just, as we talk about the human tragedy, what is next here? And we speak about the planning. And part of the reason this has been such a devastating fire is because of the lack of planning, the lack of a good planned response. I'm going to play this from local News 18. And what do I mean by that? Well, by that I mean we have to think about how are these neighborhoods going to fight these fires in the future. We can't have firemen respond, turn on hoses, and have water not come out of them. We're going to need reservoirs, more reservoirs. We're going to need probably homeowners, perhaps to have a specific gallon reserve tank of water so they can fight these fires themselves before emergency workers get there. Many homeowners saved homes, in fact, entire communities, through fighting these fires with their own hoses, their own means. Some people that had the means and the money actually even hired private firefighting services. These are some of the things that we have to think about in the future. How is the infrastructure going to be changed? Mayor Bass said just the other day that, we're going to right away rebuild 1,400 homes. That's not the answer. How are you going to build 1,400 homes? And then if another fire comes through, while you're in construction, they'll simply wipe out these homes. Let's build the infrastructure first. The water, the reservoirs, the fire hydrants that don't go dry, backfill to these reservoirs. Perhaps a code that says each home has to have a 10,000 or 20,000 gallon water tank so that they can, in fact, fight the fires until emergency workers and the fire department gets there. But this is what we're talking about, planning. And many people have been calling for the removal of Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass. And some may say, that's political, but they didn't do a good job in planning for this. So what makes you think they'll do a good job in mitigating this problem in the future? They are not good leaders, either one of them. I want to play this, and this is coming from several news organizations, several people. They've already started a recall against Governor Newsom.
To remove Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass from office have gained steam as devastating wildfires continue to rage in California. The two officials have faced sharp censure over their handling of the wildfires that first erupted on January 7th. The fires have killed at least 24 people, torched 12,000 structures, and destroyed large sections of the greater Los Angeles area. California activist Randy Economy, who is leading the movement to recall Newsom, said he expects to file papers in the next 2 weeks to start the recall process. Recall supporters will have to gather roughly 1.3 million signatures in the next 5 months. The fires have also reignited the feud between Newsom and President-elect Donald Trump. Trump has repeatedly called on Newsom to resign and alleged that the California governor is to blame for problems regarding the state's water management. Newsom has denied Trump's assertions and launched an independent investigation into the drops in water pressure in local fire hydrants and reported unavailability of water.
As I say, it's not about finger pointing. It's about answering the questions you and everybody wants answered. And I think there's a propensity to wait to answer those questions. And people want immediacy. They want response and responsiveness. And so that's the idea.
The California governor also suggested that Trump would try to block federal assistance for the disaster unilaterally.
Well, I mean, he's done it to Utah. He's done it to Michigan. He did it to Puerto Rico. He did it to California back before I was even governor in 2018, until he found out folks in Orange County voted for him, and then he decided to give the money.
Mayor Bass has been facing heavy criticism, with a Change.org petition garnering over 130,000 signatures calling for her resignation. Footage of a speechless Bass after she was asked questions about the fires went viral last week.
First and foremost, my number one focus, and I think the focus of all of us here with one voice, is that we have to protect lives, we have to save lives, and we have to save homes.
You know, it's sort of like when you hear these professional speech givers, words ring very shallow. You know, in crises like this, what you need is leadership. And if people believe that Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass are good leaders, then they should keep them in power. If they believe they're not, and if they don't have confidence with them going forward, they should be removed. And that is a question, not these talking points. We're the community. We're in this together. We are trying to save. You know, those are shallow words. What we want is action. And I said on previous shows, the most competent people speaking during these events are the professionals, the firefighters, the police executives, all right? The emergency managers, not the politicians. The politicians, I mean, they're trying to cover their own butts. That's what they're trying to do. And a lot of really poor leadership was displayed during this. And this is why these fires are so devastating.
And heard so many stories of just the incredible loss. It is so widespread. The image is so apocalyptic. And that is just not hyperbole when you're hearing and seeing everything that's going on, Sam.
Yeah, it goes on for miles and miles and miles. And think about that in the terms of families, right? Firefighters are slowly gaining some ground. The Palisades fire now, about 20% contained. But guys, if we think about this starting Wednesday, like last Wednesday, and we were all talking about it, that's a week ago. So that's not contained truly at all. But the most severe wind warnings are still in effect right now because there's still some gusty winds and the fires are just not contained.
And when we started reporting it, we weren't talking about deaths.
Right.
2 days in, we weren't talking about deaths. And when we started speaking about this real toll, it has just been just heartbreaking how fluid it's been. At least 24 deaths right now. For the responsibility of this fire, and for the people who were able to escape, their lives are never going to be the same again. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman.
This morning, for the second straight day, millions facing an extreme fire risk in Southern California. The next 12 hours, critical.
Everybody here urges you to remain alert as danger has not yet passed.
Fire crews scrambling to mop up any remaining hotspots, fearing that powerful Santa Ana winds and dry conditions could rekindle the monstrous Eaton and Palisades fires. Palisades fire now 18% contained as new clues emerge about how it may have started. ABC News has learned that the ATF, the federal agency charged with investigating arson and explosions, is zeroing in on the Palisades Highland area.
The foot of the fire started real close to where the last fire was on New Year's Eve.
Some residents pointing to this fire, first reported on the hillside just after midnight on New Year's Day.
LAFD had sent helicopters and had sent trucks to put that fire out. They were there for hours, circling overhead. We assumed then the fire was out. For the next several nights, there were fireworks again going off at night in various areas in the hills.
By 3:38 a.m., the fire is stopped, and an hour later, by 4:46, fully contained. Fire officials say that ash pits or tree roots can smolder for days unseen.
Wait, we were right behind it.
Then at 10:30 a.m. Tuesday, January 7th, the Palisades fire was reported. These side-by-side satellite images seem to show that fire starting at nearly the same spot as the fire the week before. We witnessed the furious firefighting efforts at that spot as the Palisades fire began to spread.
Just in the past couple of seconds since we've been here, this fire has crested this little hill we're on. The entire basin here is engulfed in flames.
FEMA on the ground in LA already receiving 40,000 aid applications. 84-year-old Susan Solser says she watched the Palisades fire approach her home from her kitchen window before fighting the fire with her 86-year-old husband, Winston, saving their home.
I wasn't sure where Winston was. Couldn't contact him, but it turned out he was at the south end of the house doing the same thing.
The Palisades and Eaton fires have claimed the lives of 25 people, and the survivors are still reeling.
It was literally shooting like fireballs. It looked like a volcano.
Zaire Calvin remembers the Eaton fire surging towards the place he's called home for 47 years.
I got the
You're getting your mother.
Getting my mother. We're going. I go to the left, and my sister's car is still there.
He says he thought his sister, Evelyn McClendon, had managed to leave already. The next day, they located her.
When you're mourning your sister's death, there's no real understanding. There's no understanding. There's no way to even take it in.
The family hit hard, but not giving up on their community.
Everyone is fighting. Everyone is literally just asking, leaning on each other to say, what's next? What's the best thing to do?
Matt Gutman from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
You know, the human tragedy when you watch this is just unbelievable. You know, as a police officer with the NYPD, I've seen so much human tragedy, from 9/11 to just homicides all over the borough of Manhattan. And you really feel for these people. And what I think that part of feeling for them is a demand for government accountability, you know, to make sure these are the victims of ineptitude in government, of poor decision-making in government, of poor preparation in government. And it's inexcusable, because in this case, the chief executive officer of the state is the governor, Governor Gavin Newsom. And the chief of LA is the mayor, Mayor Karen Best. And both of them have come up short with almost no answers to their conduct pre this event. And now we are in the event. Now impress us with your management and your leadership. And guess what? They're not doing that. They are not impressing me. And more importantly, they're not impressing the residents of these hard-hit communities that are hit by these fires. You see the map there, you know, Los Angeles County. People, 25 deaths so far. And look, granted, no one is responsible for the Santa Ana winds. No one. But is this something new? Are the Santa Ana winds something that just came up last week? No. They are something that residents and politicians in California are aware of. So guess what? You're aware of it. Deal with it. Prepare for it. Forestation. Water, right? Reservoirs that aren't empty. When I watched Gavin Newsom say, oh, the state reservoir, dude, stop with that nonsense. Don't differentiate from the state reservoir and the local reservoir. You are the commanding officer of the state. Stop with your excuses. I mean, it's just pathetic. And, you know, look, during 9/11, we had some outstanding leadership. And at that time, Rudolph Giuliani was a fantastic leader at that time. And that's what you need. And you need other people from the fire department and the police department and the NYPD were outstanding leaders that got things done. The federal and the local emergency management people were outstanding, and they got things done. They were prepared. I mentioned NIMS, the National Emergency Management System. That is a plan already drawn up. So you have plans already drawn up by the federal government for these eventualities, for these emergencies. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You go right to the NIMS plan and you get it going. And look, you cannot praise these firefighters enough, and these emergency workers, these police, and these situations are exacerbated by looters and would-be criminals. So the preparation, and that is why the police have to be involved also, because during these events, you have all kinds of bad actors joining these things, and it's absolutely outrageous that these people are out there trying to commit crimes during these situations. I want to play this from News Nation, and as I said, a lot of people have been calling for the removal of Mayor Bass.
Good to see you. Thank you. You are one of the more vocal ones. Are you hearing other Democrats coming around and saying there has to be a change in California?
Well, for my part, I'm focused on doing what's best for my constituents and for our city. And so my policy advocacy centers always around that. It's the primary focus of what we should all be working on.
Okay. And that would be that, fair to say, Karen Bass failed your constituents, failed the city?
Well, I think, again, we have a shared leadership model in the city of Los Angeles. And for my part, I've remained and have continued to be a very strong advocate for greater investments in public safety. When it came to the budget process, I fought and secured some of the additional positions which weren't included in the budget, including wildland hand crews and additional mechanic and sheet metal workers to help repair some of the rigs. But what I'm critical about is making sure that we have the greatest amount of accountability and transparency with the use of public dollars. And I will always remain a very strong advocate for that, to ensure that taxpayers are made whole and get the services that they pay for. ...
When 10,000 plus homes burn and there's not water and there's not enough firefighters, they haven't gotten what they pay for, correct?
Correct. I think that there is clearly a lot more work to be done. I introduced a motion about a year ago working on a nexus study to ensure that we can grow this fire department commensurate with the growth of the city. And we're in the process of doing that. I've helped to expand the alternative, basically having nurse practitioners helping to respond to a lot of a lot of our call load. 82% of LA City Fire Department call load is for emergency medical services.
Wow,
and so
interesting. All politics is local, and I admire, and you have to be able to get sort of into the weeds on these things. But when you have a leader in Karen Bass who can't simply say, when the National Weather Service was issuing catastrophic warnings and I, as mayor, got on a plane to go to Ghana, she can't say, yeah, I made a mistake. How can she continue as mayor?
Well, listen, we will all be measured on our actions and our work. And I think it's, that is for voters to decide. That, at this juncture, for me and my part, I was just out with Congressman Whitesides in my district, surveying the damage associated with the Hearst fire. The winds, as you indicated, are really starting to ramp up. In fact, It was really aggressive in Silmar. And so right now, that is the primary focus. And once we get...
Do you worry about the Democratic brand? And I say this respectfully, but Democratic leadership in California has been there for more than a decade, a one-party state. Democrats have had effective control for 20 years or so. And the Democratic brand now is being defined by climate do-gooding rather than what you pointed out, wildlife mitigation, charging stations rather than water pumps. At some point, don't other Democrats have to speak out more forcefully than you are?
Well, I welcome additional voices to be really strong advocates for thoughtful, balanced policy that meets all of our needs, and I will continue to be that. Again, my politics and my advocacy is really born out of the immediate needs. I mean, I think that's one of the greatest opportunities that I have as a local leader, because here we're nonpartisan at the local level. And I think it's for that reason that we're able, for my part, able to work with folks across party lines, which is incredibly important because quality of life issues don't have party affiliation. Having safer streets, having thoughtful and present public safety is critical to all neighborhoods. Doesn't matter what your party affiliation is. And so for my part, I'm going to continue to advocate for smart policies that I believe are going to keep people safe, keep people housed, and make sure that we can improve the quality of life here in the city of Los Angeles.
All right. Well, those are good and worthy goals. It's nice to have you, ma'am. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. If you'd like to help those affected by the fires in California, obviously there's lots of ways to do it. Probably one of the best, and where you know your money's going to exactly those folks who need help the most, the American Red Cross. You can go newsnationnow.com/Red Cross, or you can also use your phone to scan that little thing. It's called the QR code. It's what all the kids are doing.
So that's, some complain that this is mired by politics. However, do people feel good moving forward with the current leadership? If they do, then they should keep them in office. If they don't, they should recall them. And them I'm referring to is Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Best. And moving forward, I cannot imagine keeping them in power. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Make sure, if you're not subscribed, hit that red subscribe button on the screen. Give us a thumbs up, ring that bell, share us with your friends and your family. If you want to contribute to us, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels. We also have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels, and you can join our YouTube family. We appreciate all of our fans, our friends that make the Police Off the Cuff family. Tonight, we're going to be doing a show at 8 p.m. on the NYPD overtime corruption scandal. That's going to be at 8 p.m. So if you love us at Police Off the Cuff, tune in tonight at 8 o'clock. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Have a great day, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.